Hey guys, welcome to day 52 of our Groenland devlog. And we're a little bit rough this morning. Look, this particular president had one scoop too many last night. So we're going to take a little look at our aiming. Now, I was messing about with this last night, and it is getting better, as one can see, but you'll notice that if I fire, we hit there but not where the bow is actually aiming. But we are kind of getting there. Now, what we want to see is actually our animation now. Here's the thing, I've just realised something, right? That last night when I was, let me see, right, so this here is our idol, okay, and for some reason it's come up on the other screen, so let's have a look at this. Right. What I was doing last night, right, is I was basically twisting her pelvis. Right? Now, the issue with that is that our camera actually moves with it. So it actually doesn't matter if I move or twist this anymore, right? Because at the end of the day, our camera will move with her anyway, right? So what we actually need to do is give the camera a slight offset angle, okay? And then we need to decide which trajectory the arrow actually takes, right? Now, at the moment, it's going off the weapon socket, right? But we actually don't want it to do that. We actually want it to fire off the bow or the arrow rotation, right? So what I'm saying here is, I shall demonstrate to what's going on at the moment. Right. If we look at that, you can see that we're doing a line trace off the bow, right? Which is actually fine, right? But our actual arrow there, or our crosshair, is where we're going to fire. And that's because we are going, I'm going to have to point to these, right? So you'll have to bear with me a second, I'll show you. Our weapon socket, which is this, her hand, is actually facing here. Okay? So when we fire, that's the direction the arrow actually goes. See that? Right? Now, there is a slight offset, which means that I don't hit the centre of the target, right? But that is how it's working, okay? So what we can do here is we're going to have to open up our pawn, and we'll do a little testing on this to see if my logic is correct, which I think it is, and it's pretty clear thinking for me after considering the way I'm feeling, but we'll take it. So this is where we fire, okay? And you'll see here that we're getting a socket and we're actually using our camera rotation. Now, our actual camera rotation is okay. Okay? And we're adding these two vectors. But I actually think that we should be getting the bowl. We're going to test this out, right? We're just going to test out this. We're going to get the bowl. Then we're going to get the arrow. Okay. Then we're going to get the location. And as I said, this might go to crap here, because I do believe that our arrow is actually facing the wrong way. Okay, so if it is, we're going to have to add 180 to the Z. Okay, but we're going to try it. Okay, so the point here is if we fire there, we are still getting the same result. Okay, and that's not really what we want. Right? It does prove one thing though. It proves that we are actually doing the right thing. Okay, now the interesting thing here would be if I do this. Right, we're not going to do any of that yet. So this is going to give us another line trace. Now, if this is at all different, I'm hoping it should be. Right? So if we fire, Now, you'll notice that that line let's fire that again. Now that's kind of weird. Now we do want the bow, right? Okay. We want it to follow the correct trajectory, right? Which is along the path that our trace has given us there. Okay, so let's have a look at that for a second. Right, see that trace there? That is the trace that we want, right? So, that is also the direction we want. Okay? So, in theory, it is the arrow that's drawing that line trace, okay? So we're going to go into our arrow and find out exactly where and how we draw that line trace. Right now, I'm pretty sure. Wow, you fixed it. What'd I fix? I've not fixed anything yet. I'm trying to fix it. Ah, it's not the arrow, it's the bow. It's the bow. Right. And we shoot trace. Okay. Ice cream apple. I'm not sure what I've fixed yet. We're getting this, and this is the forward vector, right? Now, I've got a strange deja vu about this. So, we're going to copy that. Right. And it is our arrow, right? So in our projectile movement, right, you'll notice that we get this. Now the interesting thing is that we're going to end up breaking this, that's for sure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that and put it back the way it was, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it over here. and then I'm going to start mucking about with it, right? Now, the interesting, actually, you know what? Now that I look at it, we're only getting the rotation from here. We shouldn't be taking we should be taking the rotation from here. Right, not the camera. Right? And we're not going to rotate this vector at all because that's just a little offset, right? And in theory now, it'll probably not work. Right. You'll see that it actually went the wrong way, which is fine, right? Because we can quite easily fix that. Right, so what we'd have to do here is break that. Then plus 180. Then make a rotator. Right, so we do that. Oops, oopsie doopsie. We do that. We do that. We do that. And we do that. And in fact, what we could do here is we could split this. And that gets rid of the need for that extra. Right, and then we'll bring it to there. We'll drop this up here, and hopefully this will start making a bit more sense. Right, we're good here, I think, to give it a go again. Right. Now look at that. You didn't know you could add colour to the comment box. Yeah, you can do what you want. So for example, if I wanted to do that, just do that, hit C, then all you need to do is go in here and do that. Okay, and then you can change the font size if you want that bigger. Right, so we could say 40 and we get a bigger comment. Right, and then our comment is original aiming. Right, so now we need to work out what was actually going on there and what we hit and what we didn't. Right, now interestingly, or not, interestingly, if we look at this and fire, you'll notice that our line trace from the arrow is slightly different. It has got a little gravity, and that's what I was just thinking. It's not homing, right? But I do know that it doesn't arrow drop that much, right? But the thing is, if you look at it, right? If you look at the different thing, it's taken the trajectory of what appears to be the arrow, the something else. Right? The rotation on this is slightly different. You'll notice that that's following the arrow, okay? Right, let me just show you guys again to show you what I'm talking about. Right, this is following the line of the arrow. Okay? When I fire, it seems to be following the line of the way she's looking. Right? So let me just show you again what happens here, right? If I fire, right, I missed. That's because I'm not firing properly. Right? Forget the aiming reticle right now, okay? Just look at the way that the line trace is coming out and hitting our thing, our target, right? And then when we see our secondary line trace, right, look at it, it's as if it's following the line of the weapon socket, or the way that she is actually facing, not the way the arrow is facing, right? I mean, it's close. Right? It's very, very close. I just need to check. We're not adding anything here. Now, I think it's this. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this away. Right? Move spawn location forward a bit. Well, we don't really need to do that, to be fair. Well, we'll soon find out when it doesn't work. No, the gravity doesn't affect it that much. Not at the speed that I'm firing at. Right, because if I do fire up in the air, right, yeah, it looks like we're offsetting it slightly. The rotations get, well, is it? I don't think it is actually. Whoa. Right, well, we do need something then. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go location. Right. No, it was because I didn't give it that other thing. Right, so this is bloody weird. It's hitting itself at the moment, right? So basically we can add this back in because this isn't actually adding to the rotation. This is the arrow mesh, right? Now, let me check on this again. It is doing it for the arrow mesh, right? And it's the vector straight forward. So in theory this should be correct. Or maybe I'm thinking this too much here. Right, it's that little bit off again for some reason. Right. And that's on the pitch and the roll. The hair is a separate skeletal mesh with physics on it. Right, now this is just doing a forward vector. Right? Now, I'm not buying the fact that... Right, let me put it this way. I've seen the arrow's trajectory before, and it's not gravity that's pulling it down that much. Okay? But I mean, we could test it, right, by setting the gravity to 0 on the arrow, right? So we've got projectile movement. Right, and I'm pretty sure we can set, see here's the projectile gravity. So if we set that to 0, now if it is being caused by gravity, well, I'm just not buying it. Right, see, wasn't caused by gravity. That little bit of a difference is not caused by gravity. So, I mean, we could, in theory, not care. Right? And we could just move our reticle to the left and then down a bit. But it wouldn't look right because she would be aiming like here, but the actual arrow would go here. Right, you can see the... oh well, we've turned the gravity off, so that's not going to happen. So it wasn't being caused by gravity. We know that. Right, wait a minute. I'm just weirded out by this. Right, because I'm using the exact same rotation as this. Right, now, let me just... We're getting the forward vector, then we're getting the world location. Then we're adding that to that, right? So, in theory, right, okay, so that is different. Right, that should go to there. and that, oopsie, oopsie, should go to there, right? So now our two line traces should be identical. Right? So when I fire this one, we should really not see the other one. Except we did. Actually, we've seen another one. Right, hang on a second here. Right. We're going to go here. And we're going to switch this one off. Okay. But we can't see what we're aiming at here. Guys. Hi Deadshot, how are you, mate? Right. Confusing as to why these should be the same, but they're not. Right? We're still going off this weapon socket. Let's change that over. Is that making some kind of a difference? I mean, it's the rotation here that's doing it, right? It's got to be. It's got to be the rotation, right? We're trying to make the bow fire in the right direction. I think the thing that's given this away, right, you can definitely see that the rotation is slightly different. Okay? Ah, right, wait a minute. It's actually right. Look at that. It's the animation that makes it look slightly off. It's kind of the angle that's making it look wrong. Because see, if we look at it there, look, it follows that arrow path perfectly, right? But it seems to be our camera that's not quite right. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, right? You see our reticle? Right, see this reticle? I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it. That's what I'm going to do. I am not 100% yeah, it's something weird, right? It's something weird. There is something not quite lining up the same, whether it's the animation or whatever, but the actual way it's firing is actually right. Apart from the fact that well, that's weird. I'm thinking here, did I move this the wrong way? Okay, which way is this going now? Right, we're going to fire it at the house, because then I can't miss. And then we can see which way it's going. Right, so if I fire there, well, interesting. Right, we'll escape that, right? And it looks like that is okay. Now the question is, are we too high or are we too low? I will end up revisiting this, right? But the point is, yeah, we've been through the gravity thing and it isn't. Whoa, what? I mean, this shouldn't be doing this, because at the end of the day, the reticle does not affect anything as far as the bow goes, right? Now, look at that. That's just like a little bit weird, isn't it? Right, I'm going to try a slightly different approach here, right? I'm going to put this back. No, character's arm doesn't move up and down. But if we do that, no, the character's arm doesn't move when I'm standing still. This would maybe have an effect if I was walking and shooting, but she's perfectly still for good reason while we're doing this. Right, so for example, right, you can see she's not moving at all, right? But if we walk, she is moving slightly, right? But you can see that she is firing directly straight ahead, right? Right, you can see from there she's moving, she's absolutely shooting where she should, okay? But a reticle in this case should be reflecting that, right? Yeah, this is slightly different. You're on the wrong track, right? What I'm going to do is that. Now, this may be you see, it's weird. Now, there is one little factor here that might be screwing us up. And that is because we aren't doing anything with the aim offset left or right. Right? So we might have to incorporate our aim offset into this because that's going to give us our up and down, right? Our left and right seems we can probably do it here. right? We can see that that is actually not far away on the X. Okay, so we can basically say, let's say minus 100. And wouldn't it be weird if minus exactly 100 lines the thing up? Yes, we can. But the reason just trying to get this to work to a degree that we can basically work with, right? As far as making the next trailer goes, so that you can see some sort of action. Now, that wasn't quite right, you can see. So let's, whoa. I think that's something to do with that door. I think it's something to do with that door and where I'm hitting it. Right, let's make it a lot simpler. Right, apparently we can't hit anything now. Which of course is bizarre, but anyway. Right, so you can see that we're aiming straight forward. Right, so the idea here minus 75. Oh yeah. I don't know why it's just going through things. I need to string up. I need to add the aim offset to get up and down. Right, I'm just trying to find out what is actually happening. Now the arrow is going the right way, right? It is following the trajectory of what it should be. Now I don't know why it's doing that. There seems to be certain things that block it and certain things that don't at this point, which is beginning to irritate me slightly. Why not? Because it's that allows you to be able to aim, right? When you're going to be aiming up the way and down the way, you're going to have to be able to see what you're aiming at. Now the interesting thing here is, we might, I might need to be a bit more, let's say, I mean, either way, I can't leave it like this because the way she's looking and the way that the arrow is sitting isn't actually the direction, right? Right, guys, I'm going to take a cigarette break and have a think about this here. So I shall be back in a couple of minutes. If you don't mind hitting the subscribe button, I'm trying to get to 750 today, which isn't out the realms of possibility. So I shall be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. Okay, we're back. Now, you don't need the GUI ring. Yeah, I think you do. Or you won't be able to hit a barn door with a banjo. Right, but I do think that we might need to programmatically update the GUI ring. Or I might need to investigate how it's done with the guns. Because I know that when you do a gun, you actually do two guns, and one of them is for aiming and one of them is for the actual gun that's displayed, right? So I need to have a little look at that. But what we really need to do is implement also our aiming, right? So we need to basically use this as well, which is going to make it really freaky. Right. Whoa. Well, that completely broke it. That's okay, I think I know what it is. It's basically, if I'm going to use this, it was kind of catch-22, right? It was this thing here. Right? And this here. It was this blend space, right? And I think it's because we didn't want this. Right, I added that in to give us a pose in a non-doing anything type scenario. Right, well, that kind of doesn't work. So you can see our camera. Our first person camera basically loses its shit. Right? and it's obviously because of this. Right, and I'm gradually just going to end up breaking this, which should be good fun, of course. Right, so what we'll do is we won't actually attach it to the arrow. So that only works if right. Now we could do it as a straight up effort first person. Right? Because if we look at this, right, here's our camera, right? And if we're doing it this way, we actually don't do it that way, if you know what I mean. Right? We can save that, and we could just use it as a first person camera, right, and just use the head socket, right? Now obviously at this point we need to redo the what we're actually aiming at, right? So we don't actually use the arrow mesh anymore. Right, we just actually use the first person camera. Right, and we probably don't need to do this either. Right, so we're going to do that, which means that we don't really do anything. Right. Right, now are we going to hit here? Bang. There we go. Right, that's if we use it as straight up first person bang. Right? Right, so we can basically fire directly and hit the center spot. Bang. Right? But I mean, we could do it right. What I'm thinking is, right, if we did it like this, right, we go bang, shoot, right, we get that arrow cam, right, and then it switches back to this, right, and then to fire again, you need to go into first person view again. Now this is perfectly easily doable, right, this is a scoosh, but we can do that. But that's going to absolutely work. Right, you can see there my arrows hitting first time, etc, etc. Now it's not quite right, obviously, and we'd have to set the arrow offset and stuff, take that back off, right, but in theory that would work. Right, now as I said, we'd need to take if we go to our this, we'd need to take this off again, right, because we don't want this interfering with our first person alignment. What do you think, guys? Just go straight up first person. Now, if we do go straight up first person, right, it would make things a lot simpler, put it that way. Right, now, the question here is, can we, right, if we fire up a bit, are we going to hit the right place? Yes, we do, right? And that's a beautiful thing. Right, now, the interesting thing here is, if we use this code, right, then this rotation vector here, right, we can actually add a bit of variance to this, right? So what I'm going to say is, I'm going to go with this for the moment, right? So that we can show off like gameplay and stuff. I'm going to split that struct, right? And what we can do is we can say random float in range. Okay. We can tidy this up. And we can say, like, we can tweak this, right? We can say between -5 and 5, right? Then we can duplicate it. Okay. Drag this down a bit, yeah. And then we can duplicate it again. And we can basically give ourselves a bit of randomness here. Right now, I don't know if that's going to be too much or too little or whatever, but we can have a look and see what. Right, so if we fire now, you'll notice that it didn't hit exactly center, right, which is exactly what I wanted. Okay, now the the thing that's interesting me here, right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to make, right, I'm going to leave them as they are, right, but I'm going to make this -20 to 20. And see what effect that has. I think actually, you know what? The easier way to do this is we don't know what numbers these are, so these could be close to 0 every time. So what I'd actually be better doing is going 0, 0, and then actually typing a number in. Right, so like let's say I put 10 in there. And that's going to give us an idea of, like, up, down, left, right, how much this is going to affect it. Now the interesting thing here is I don't think the Z, well, it might. Right, you can see there that it does affect it. Not an awful lot though. Oh god. Right, so we'll change it again to 20. Compile that. Press play. Right, you can see that there's actually quite a bit of difference now. Not an awful lot though. Right, so let's go 40 on the Y. Now it still actually looks to me like right, you can see that has a way bigger difference. Right. Now, basically, if I fire here, okay, so we basically know that 30 well, actually no. I mean, if we're being fair to the player here, if that is our reticle, right, then basically our arrow should hit somewhere within our thing. Right, so it shouldn't be 40. Let's say 10. Now we want it to be on the edge of our right, so that's about right. Right, because we wanted it, what we wanted was on the edge of the ring, okay? So what I'm going to say is that this should be minus 10, minus 10, 10, minus 10, 10, etc. Right, and that gives us a little bit of leeway on this, so we can basically do this. Now the interesting thing here is we do have a little bit of movement, so I might even just remove this. But as I said, the interesting thing is okay. This line trace is not giving us the correct the absolute correct trajectory, right? So that's why the arrow doesn't line up quite like the other one, right? So that line trace there is a little bit misleading. No worries, Stormrun, lurk all you like. Right, but the thing here, the strangest thing, no, I mean that's okay. So that's using that rotation. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all this. Join that back up. Remove that. I'm going to delete that. Hi, Cassadell Gaming, how are you today? I'm going to do that. From the land of tequila. We don't actually need to play this if we're doing it in first person. Right. You know what? I'm going to leave it like that. I'm quite happy to have it in first person when you go into aiming mode. Right now, I am going to switch it. Right, so that's good. Okay, so if I hit door, or there, then we're fine. And I think on that we're going to leave it for today. I'm sorry, Cassadell Gaming, that you've just come in. But I'm going to have to talk to my colleague on this one, see what he thinks. Because the third person way of doing it was all well and good, apart from the fact that it wasn't. It was doing some really weird stuff regarding the aiming. Right, but I'm guessing it's really actually the aim offset thing that needed to be sorted out. Right, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a look at that off stream. But if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. I'll be back at 8 PM. Hopefully you'll be able to join me a bit earlier this time, Cassadell Gaming. It's always good to see you. Check out the description for links to the game Discord, my personal Discord, plus my Patreon and my previous game on Steam. As I said, I'll be back at 8 PM. Bye bye for now.